The man at table 3, the morning sun filtered through the large windows of rosewood Café, casting golden rectangles across the worn wooden floors. Emma pulled her blonde hair back into a loose ponytail and tied the familiar brown apron around her waist. She had never worked at her sister Sarah's cafe before, but when Sarah called at 6 in the morning with a fever and barely a voice, Emma couldn't say no. Just smile and take orders. Sarah had whispered over the phone, "The regulars are easy, they know what they want." Emma surveyed the cozy space with its mismatched chairs and small round tables. The scent of fresh coffee beans and warm pastries filled the air. She could do this. How hard could it be? The first few customers were indeed easy. Mrs. Henderson ordered her usual black coffee and blueberry muffin. The college student by the window wanted a large latte and a chocolate croissant. Emma began to feel confident, moving with growing ease between the espresso machine and the display case of baked goods. Then he walked in. The man was tall and well-dressed, wearing a crisp white shirt and dark tie. His dark hair was styled perfectly, and he carried himself with quiet confidence. He chose table 3, the one by the large window that looked out onto the busy street. Emma noticed he set down a sleek laptop and checked his watch, an expensive-looking piece that caught the morning light. Emma approached with her notepad ready. "Good morning, what can I get you today?" He looked up, and she was struck by how tired his eyes seemed despite his polished appearance. "Just coffee, please, black, and ... He hesitated, glancing at the pastry case. "What would you recommend?" "The cinnamon rolls are fresh from the oven," Emma said. "My sister, well, the owner makes them herself every morning." "Perfect." He smiled, and for a moment, the weariness seemed to lift from his features. "I'll take one of those." As Emma prepared his order, she found herself glancing toward table 3. The man had opened his laptop, but instead of typing, he stared out the window. Steam rose gently from his coffee cup, creating a thin veil between them. When she brought the cinnamon roll, he thanked her quietly. "Are you new here?" "I come in quite often, but I don't think we've met. I'm filling in for my sister today. She owns the place." Emma set the plate down carefully. "I'm Emma. Nice to meet you, Emma. I'm David." Something about the way he said his name made Emma pause. But before she could think about it further, the morning rush began in earnest. Business professionals hurried in for their daily caffeine fix. Mothers with strollers ordered elaborate drinks, and the cafe filled with the comfortable hum of conversation. Throughout the busy morning, Emma found herself aware of David at table 3. He worked quietly on his laptop, occasionally taking calls in a low voice. Unlike the other customers who came and went, he settled in as if he had nowhere else to be. During a brief lull, Emma refilled his coffee without being asked. "Thank you," he said, looking up from his screen. "You're a natural at this. My sister would laugh if she heard you say that. I knocked over a display of coffee beans yesterday just walking past it." Emma smiled. "I'm more of a behind-the-scenes person usually." "What do you do behind the scenes?" "I mean, I'm a graphic designer. I work mostly with small businesses, helping them with logos, websites, that sort of thing." Emma found herself lingering by his table, drawn into conversation despite the cafe bustling around them. David's eyes brightened with genuine interest. "That sounds rewarding, creating something from nothing." "It is, when clients know what they want. The challenging ones are those who say make it pop and expect you to read their minds." Emma laughed softly. "I imagine that's frustrating." David's expression grew thoughtful. Having a vision but struggling to communicate it clearly, something in his tone made Emma study his face more carefully. There was something familiar about him, something she couldn't quite place. Before she could pursue the thought, the lunch crowd began to arrive, and she had to return to taking orders. As the afternoon stretched on, Emma noticed David's phone ringing frequently. Each time he would glance at the screen, then decline. His jaw grew tighter with each interruption, and the easy conversation from earlier seemed forgotten. Around 3 o'clock, when the cafe had quieted again, David finally answered his phone. "No, I told you I'm not available today," he said in a voice that was firm but weary. "I don't care what the board wants. Some things are more important than quarterly projections." Emma tried not to listen, but in the small cafe, privacy was limited. She busied herself wiping down tables, but she couldn't help overhearing fragments of the conversation. "It's been 2 years, Margaret, 2 years since I've taken a single day. Yes, I understand the implications. No, I won't be in tomorrow either." When David finally hung up, he sat back in his chair and ran his hands through his hair, disrupting its perfect styling for the first time all day. Emma approached cautiously. "Everything okay?" David looked up at her and she saw something vulnerable in his expression that hadn't been there before. "Do you ever feel like you're living someone else's life?" The question caught Emma off guard. I suppose. Why, I've been coming to this cafe for 2 years, David said slowly. "Same table, same order, same routine. But I've never actually talked to anyone before." "Not really talked." Emma slid into the chair across from him, sensing this was a moment that required her full attention. "Why not?" "Because I'm David Morrison." The name hit Emma like a gentle shock. David Morrison, she knew that name. She had seen it in the business section of the newspaper, on the sides of buildings downtown. Morrison Development was one of the largest real estate companies in the city. Oh, Emma said quietly. Most people, when they find out who I am, they want something, a job, an investment, a favor. David's smile was sad. It gets lonely, always, wondering about people's motives. Emma thought about this, watching the late afternoon light shift across his face. Is that why you've been declining your calls all day? I told my assistant I was taking a mental health day. First time in 2 years. David laughed, but there was no humor in it. Pathetic, isn't it? A grown man hiding in a coffee shop. Not pathetic, Emma said firmly. Human. They sat in comfortable silence for a moment, the cafe around them settling into the peaceful rhythm of late afternoon. A few customers came and went, but Emma found herself reluctant to leave table 3. Can I tell you something? David asked suddenly. The real reason I come here. Emma nodded. 2 years ago, I was supposed to meet with your sister about buying this building. Morrison Development wanted to tear it down, put up condos. David gestured around the cafe. But when I walked in here, saw how much this place meant to the neighborhood, how it brought people together, I couldn't do it. Emma's eyes widened. You're the one who withdrew the offer. Sarah never knew it was me specifically. We handled it through intermediaries. David smiled, this time with genuine warmth, but I kept coming back. This place reminded me of who I used to be, before the suits and the board meetings and the constant pressure. Emma felt something shift inside her chest, a recognition of something she couldn't quite name. Who did you used to be? Someone who believed that preserving community was more important than profit margins. Someone who thought business could be personal. David met her eyes. Someone more like the person I've been today, talking with you. The cafe felt suspended in time, the outside world momentarily forgotten. Emma realized that in all her relationships, professional and personal, she had never experienced this kind of honest vulnerability so quickly, so naturally. I should probably head home, David said eventually, though he made no move to pack up his laptop. Should you? Emma asked. Or do you feel like you should? David considered this, then smiled, the first completely unguarded smile she had seen from him all day. You know what? I feel like staying a little longer. As Emma went to brew a fresh pot of coffee, she caught her reflection in the window. She looked different somehow, more present, more herself. Sometimes, she thought, the best days were the ones that started with someone else's emergency and ended with your own unexpected discovery. When she returned to table 3 with 2 fresh cups of coffee, David was closing his laptop. I think, he said, I'd rather just talk. Outside, the city moved at its usual frantic pace, but inside Rosewood Cafe, time moved differently. Emma sat down across from David, and for the first time in longer than she could remember, she felt exactly where she was supposed to be.